Did jot some things. I don't know how much you want to know about polio, but I thought just for your understanding, you can edit it any way you want to. But back in the 50s, of course, it was the most feared thing next to the A-bomb in the United States, and there were lots of incidents. There were 16 cases in our district in Racine alone, and I remember laying on the couch saying, "Ma, I can't move," and ambulance came, took us there to the hospital, and they had a ward on the St. Mary's Hospital that they put us all in because it was semi-contagious, you know. They shut down all the pools and things like that. So I'll just briefly go over that. My folks decided that they would go with some experimental procedures, because prior to this, before Sister Penny got her way, the doctors would just put you in splints, or if you had something that wasn't growing, they'd put hydraulic cement in there. Yeah. So I guess that's the choices they were facing. So Dr. Nelson, he convinced them to try bone grafts. So I had bone grafts put in 3 spots, and they rebuilt the front of that foot.
How old were you?
4. I had just turned 4, and that was 1955, and so they did that, and of course the first cast was up to my hips, and that was when Baba's story began, because this is a Baba story. And so I was at home, and there were treatment. The nuns, we believed in Jesus, so it was, you know, I knew, I guess I never doubted that I wouldn't be able to walk again. So, you know, Jesus, I'm expecting a miracle, you know, in that, as small as you can, you know, think of something like that. But the nurses were nuns in the full garb, and they would move your limbs for you, because that's what happened after the initial tree trunk was dissolved from the polio. You had smaller bush-like nerves that took over, so they retrained the muscles to redo it, and that's why in the later years, when post-polio was coming of 35 years later or so, they realized that it's like driving a Mack truck with a VW engine. So anyway, that's how that evolved. But so we were recouping at home from the surgery, and this was probably right around Christmas, so it was 55, 56, and I had many vivid dreams, because you kind of leave your body, you know, when you're paralyzed, you just start living in your head. So I had some recurrent dreams that some were blissful and some were awful. But there was one that I had 3 times, and it was identical dream the same time. Baba was, I didn't know Baba, never heard of him, but I'd be looking out the window, bedroom window, and he'd be out there in a white gown, and next thing I know, he'd be in on the room, and I'd be in bed, unable to really move. I had some arm motion at that time, but and he would start tickling me, you know, and oh, hey, this is fun, and but he wouldn't stop. So, you know, until he just kept tickling, and that's it, you know. So my eyes are open, I'm screaming, because he won't stop, and he's still on top of me, and he's tickling my solar plexus. And one of the parents would come in, "Artie, you're having a bad dream," you know, and I just saw the whole thing, and of course, you know, it would pass then, and second time my dad came in, and I think this was all within a month. And then after the third time, I remember my father throwing his hands up, like, you know, out of frustration. And but I couldn't understand why, and it was identical. He'd be outside, be on top of me, tickling me. And I had an uncle that resembled Baba, and he was my favorite. And it's like, why are you torturing me like this? And so I just couldn't figure it out. At any rate, you know, years passed, and I never told anyone, because, well, just because. And, yeah, I got lost there for a minute. The forgetter gets better every year. So, yeah, it was 71 we figured it out, Robert. And my brother had met Robert and Linda. Archie was their nickname. Coincidence about Archie. A friend of mine in high school, we would meet in the hall, a big high school, 2,000 students, and we'd pass in the hall, and we started going, Archie Baba, you know, just something to say to each other, to recognize one another in the hall, and we never knew what it meant. And a year later, I meet Archie, and we, you know, got into Baba at the same time, so, so that was kind of comical, a precursor. So at any rate, I saw Baba's photo for the first time. I think it was in Be Here Now, so I still have the original. You do? Yeah, yeah. I have a couple of reprints, but yeah, it's hit a lot of people, and yeah. Anyway, oh, that's him. He's the guy that tickled me. So, you know, years went by, and studied, you know, God Speaks, the four, Everything and Nothing, before it was Discourses, and anything I could find we read. And well, Robert and I started, you know, talking, and he ended up going, leaving town and, you know, sell everything and live off the fat of the land, and he ended up in Myrtle Beach in the 70s. And so of course I had a longing to go, but I had a family to raise, and so I never made it until 84. But he moved back to Racine, and we've been lifelong friends, brothers like no others ever since. We joke about it. He said, yeah, I try to get rid of you, but you keep showing up at my door. But yeah, you just, but yeah, and then another, I guess, 15, 20 years, Nosh was in Minneapolis, near Minneapolis, at first at St. Olivet Retreat, and then up to Stillwater, 2 visits. But he was telling his story at his age of 4, of how he had scabies so bad, and Baba says you have to do exactly as I tell you, and get a stainless steel wire brush, and as he's telling it, I'm just feeling it. You know, I could feel what he was saying. You know, it was really moving. That's one thing polio makes us sensitive. But, and then it dawned on me that Baba's tickling was not a negative thing. He was actually bringing the life force back. And so, you know, that was I guess it was quite a, what do you call it?
Revelation.
Yeah, yeah. Breakthrough for me. And so yeah, India, of course, with the Mandali, and Balma too, and I had a few jokes together, and been doing Baba ever since. We started one group in '73 in Madison with the Baders, Jonathan Bader and Ann, and there were David Carter from Atlanta, and but it started out with 25 to 30 people, and then everybody kind of moved on, and so we joke about being Baba bookends in the state. He's on one end, I'm on the other. And how many Baba lovers are there up there? Well, count me one. But we soon discovered Gaia was a friend of a friend that I knew in Baroqua, and she came up last summer for a visit, and that was really pleasant to have other Baba lovers. And I had my friends, of course. Baba was everywhere in the dome, and so they would see me and say, "Jai Baba." And it's like, well, do you really know what you're saying? But as long as you say it, Baba said, just have him say my name. It'll leave the rest to him. So it was, yeah, and here we are today. Well, and then I had Lyme's disease, and I thought it was the polio ready to do me in back in '04. And oh, it was just, every bone in my body felt like it was being crushed, and I couldn't climb a ladder, I couldn't hold on to a knife, I had to sleep downstairs. And, I just begged Baba to take me. I mean, truly, just, I was out of tears, I had wept so much. It was, then of course the bullseye showed up on Silence Day, coincidentally. And it's like, well, so anyway, got treatment for that, and it subsided, but it's always with you. Stress really brings out a lot of it, and so I try to stay out of stress. But then cirrhosis, 12 years ago, they said, well, you got 16 months to live, so I'm getting ready to check out. Obviously, I didn't. Doctors tried their best, but I pulled through anyway. But it was, and it's, I had a rebound this last summer. The liver shutting down again. It was meds and beer, Was on a lot of painkillers for many years. Doctors never tell you that it's going to hurt your liver. Yeah, clinging to Baba, that was, it takes, I guess, that amount of energy you really got to be knocked down to really hold on. Like I was telling Annie and Jeff the other day, it's like you're on it, getting sucked under, and he lets you up and get your breath, and then he pulls you back under. So yeah, here we are today. I'm really grateful that you are archiving this. Oh yeah, a picture of the model, yes, Samadhi at the dome. It's an earth black dome made out of dirt. It's built it 40 years ago. It's withstood the tornado as well as the earth black shot, but all the wood structures were destroyed, and this was also taken. So I was thinking of using the dome as what's left. I was using it for an outside prayer room, but having out of energy to let the boys do it. And Yamani said it's okay for me to do it, so she got her approval. It was.
So how does Baba be in your life now? Like, what is it like to?
Well, he's been, it's the breathe in, breathe out. It's kind of like a rosary. I tried quitting a few times, but you know, 2 breaths later, yeah. Well, he manifests so much. The synchronicity is all around us. I remember I was in Vegas with a friend who goes there. His mother lived nearby, and so, well, sure, come with, sure, I'll go. Never been there, wouldn't really want to, but so we're sitting there and watching people. It was fun to watch people, and I said, okay, Baba, give me some kind of sign here. And they had these cashier things like the Old West, you know, and look above there and it says change, change, change. So you know, it's all around us, and yeah, it's with my new friend now. We've been together a few years, and she's not into Baba, but Baba comes to her. You know, it was. I remember the first time it happened. We were just freshly met, and she came over. She says, "You know, Baba came to me, and he told me to wash your feet." I said, "What?" Yeah, he gave me explicit instructions. Take some Epsom salt and bring this and that, and I thought, well, whoa, this is. She wouldn't know any of that about, you know, Baba washing the feet and that, and I thought, I'm gonna pull one over on Baba. So I said, and she hadn't been near a man or touched by a man in 20-some years, you know, so I knew she didn't want any physical contact. So I said, well, okay, if you allow me to wash yours as well. She agreed to it. So we did that. She's had many contacts from him. I said, boy, you should be down here because you're getting a lot more information, but she's not a quote Baba lover, you know. But so much synchronicity. It's just being aware, observing. That's the key. Yeah, and hold on to that diamond. I always envision myself as a little speck in the fabric somewhere. Yeah, he hadn't. I mean, nothing major aside from that tickling, but that was enough. That was really, it was real. Oh, well, I made the mistake of telling a psychiatrist that I had this repeated experience, and of course, you know, get rubber stamp, I had a schizoid experience with this Mula Bula. He couldn't even get the name right. You know, they're a weird cult, and it's like, what? How did you get that from what I told you? So I guess it's perception too, you know, it's what people perceive. So I try to just be like the American Indian, leave no footprints, and just observe and try to be helpful and do Baba. You can never stop. So that's it. There we got it. See Baba.